Hi, this is the 3rd of May, which is the Bank Holiday Monday in Ireland, and here we go. We plan to talk about learning needs for children with special needs during this pandemic lockdown. So, Adrian, how are you today?
I'm good. I just finished college now, so I'm off for summer. But this year it was all online course, and it had been so tough.
Yes. So I guess it's been a year that you have been on the online classes, and possibly since your all of your classes are finished. So it may be a good chance to review all the ups and downs, the gains and challenges over these online class learning. So we probably want to review what you have been facing with during this lockdown in terms of your online learning. So, Adrian, what do you think the possible challenges that have arisen during your online learning?
So online class this year have been very tough. Especially I have autism and I have communication problem and learning needs. So basically, when so basically when you're in school, you kind of know everything is around, everything is there for you. But when you are doing online class, there are lots of inconsistencies. For example, let's talk about the communication problem. Because part of my autistic communication problem, because usually when people think about communication problem, people only think about language barrier, but that's not the only problem. There are other factors like contacting style, how you make contact with people. Say for example, sometimes checking email constantly is kind of very hard for me that I keep on forgetting to check email. But like you need to keep on checking the email, otherwise you will miss some of the class or the important event. But when you're in school, any important event, the teacher can just tell the student about that what's going on, and even though you didn't aware of it, there'll be other people who can come and catch you and say there will be other events. But like online, you cannot do that.
May I ask this, Adrian?
Yes.
It looks like there was a lot of loose information that you found that confused, and or sometimes there could even be too much information that bury you in, and you also found that very challenging. So can you share with us something about these two issues?
Yeah, what are the issue again?
Okay, sometimes there's a lot of loose information that you don't know where to get hold of them.
Yeah.
Okay, and it seems you were very lost, right?
Yeah.
And the second part of that is in in opposite, there
Yeah.
might be too much information that bombard you every day,
Yeah.
that you got very confused.
Yeah.
So would you share with us how you found these two issues?
Oh yeah, so because when you're on the online class, basically it's the communication and the learning needs problem. So like with communication, apart from checking the email, as I mentioned before, say because with the because like in real life, human needs face-to-face interaction, and just online wouldn't be enough. Because for example, there are lots of inconsistency when it's online. So when there are inconsistency, you don't know what to do. I give you an example.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes online there are bad connection problem,
Yes.
and then there might be some hiccup between you talking or the teacher talking.
Yes.
So when there are hiccup, you don't know what they're talking about, and you cannot follow what's going on.
Yes.
But like when you're face to face, there there isn't any worried about whether there are inconsistency. Or say for example, when you interact together physically, sometimes the teacher can come and give you a hand physically, For example, if you have to take notes about the learning and you don't know where you can take or where you have to highlight, they can just point it to you straight away. But online you cannot do that.
Yes.
So they can only use their words, say what you have to do, and if you cannot follow, it's very hard. And then when there are hiccup, connection loss, that will make it very hard.
So the communication can be lost in context.
Yeah.
Yes, that's very tough. So on the other hand, I remember during some normal days, it's not uncommon that you would receive dozens of emails, and you could get very confused because you were receiving too many emails. So how did you find that?
That was very overwhelming because basically, as an autistic person, when doing a task, they always need a smaller task. Giving them a huge task is very hard. So like with the email, when there are too much email, I have to keep on following all the time and don't know where am I following. But when there are one or two email, I can follow on. But the reason why I got a dozen email is because sometimes when there are connection problem, it can be sent away like during the night, or maybe I didn't aware they were sending email because like you wouldn't just sit on your computer and stare at the email all the time. You would do
Yes.
other things, and then when there are email notification, you don't even know, and you don't know when to check again. And say even though you check again, there are none, and then you thought you don't have to check again, and then the email might come, and then that's a lot, and then you're overwhelmed. And as an autistic person, when I'm overwhelmed, I can't keep thinking, then it results that I don't want to do anything.
Yes.
So I'm just going to lay back,
Yes.
attention away. So eventually it's looked like I did nothing and did not read the email, did not follow on. So this kind of communication barrier is so difficult.
Yes, I can see that. So it looks like at one time you were expecting information, but you don't know where that would come from, and you
Yeah.
found that very
Yeah.
frustrating.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, they all come to you at one time, and then you found it very overwhelmed, and you don't know how to handle that, right?
Yeah.
So that's also difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, very, very.
So how would you eventually have you found a way to handle that?
Well, one of the thing is I have to thank you for your support again. That you can that when there are email, it can be also copy for you. So when there's because I know that you are very good with because like I know that throughout your life you deal with different challenges.
Mm-hmm.
But then when there are communication problem, you can even give me a support. Like for example, it's good that the teacher can copy for you, because usually when you go into the third level of education, here's the problem about in Ireland, that when a special need person is in the third level of education, loads of time teacher expect them to be like other adult where they take all responsibility. But I don't think that's really fair on them, because like even though they are adult or they reach to the specific age where they meant to take care of their responsibility, but every people capacity are not as the same as others.
Agree.
So if you expect the same capacity as everyone else on someone with special need, that isn't fair on them, because like their parental help is part of their disability right to support. It's
Yes.
just, for example, when someone is on a wheelchair, you wouldn't say you don't give them a wheelchair because they have a leg, they have to walk like everybody else. Wheelchair is part of their disabled tools. So having the parental support, that's part of their disabled tools like the wheelchair.
I
so
agree.
so you do need so for special need people, you cannot just say just because they're adult they don't need parent help. They still need parent help if they are incompetent. So the thing is, it's good that the teachers know that I have special need, so they can copy the email and accept that my dad can sometimes support me in in terms of receiving email, checking email, or make sure that I'm aware of the event, update, and etc.
I would like to share that while I haven't found a better way or more efficient means to communicate,
Yeah.
I have I asked Adrian to communicate with the teacher that if there's any email meant to send to Adrian, please make a copy to me so that I will be notified because I'm working with the computer all the time and I would know if an email has ever arrived. So that's very important to give Adrians the kind of communication support. Ultimately, for young adult with education needs or with autism issue, they can be very overwhelmed by communications. So although they like Adrian, he's in the average intelligence or even very intelligent to handle psychology, that kind of rational subjects, he still needs some help in terms of communications. So that has give Adrian a strong support. That has boosted him to get in touch with the school, you know. So it's no harm to make the school or any education institute aware that they need to provide more communication support for young adults with education needs. By education support, it's not just the rational support, the subject learning support. It's also it also includes the communication part, which is a very crucial part for any young adults to learn in life. So apart from the communication issues, right? Have you
Yeah.
got any other learning needs challenges?
A lot, because lots of time as an autistic person, when you have learning, because as an autistic person, I have learning needs problem. So, so I do, so I do need a lot of clear structures and pattern about learning, but you cannot, but it's kind of hard to do that online as well, because when they have learning needs and you need to support them, just doing it online is not good enough, because then there will be, then with the learning needs, for instance, I give you an example. Those who need a clear picture to learn, but if you, and say, if they don't know where they are, when you're face to face, you can even point it out at the paper in front of their desk, and you can even, and if there are some important notes that they have to write and they cannot follow quickly, the teacher can even write it on just right beside them. But like online, you cannot really do that. So it's just all words and things like that. And say, even though you share your page about the project you're doing, but you don't know where to go, things like that, the teacher cannot really see what's wrong with your computer, because computer works different at different, because every computer works differently sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And when you are doing your project and there are a problem with your computer, you, like, I'm not a technical person, so I cannot really explain what's going on, and the teacher cannot see where you are at. But say when you're doing a project in the school, the teacher can come to your computer, physically look at what's the problem with your computer, or why you're actually stuck. But like online, you both are like at different places, so you cannot do that. So it's really difficult to point out where you're difficult, and especially when you're learning needs problem and you need structure or pattern. So the thing is, so 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 just online, even though when they're using the words, that's not enough. You need a physical help as well, like going to their desk, pointing out where they are, and etc.
Yeah.
Because
that's
another
a good
thing
point.
is, especially when there hiccup in the middle, because that's happened all the time when there are connection problems, so you cannot really follow on.
But one thing I would like to share is to make sure you have a good backup strategy, like
Yeah.
the way I always ask you to do, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I remember I even gave you your personal USB key
Yeah.
and make sure you would back up your work
Yeah.
constantly from time to time,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
So have you any other ways to work around these kind of problems?
Well, I just, luckily sometimes the teachers are clear to me.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm doing my work online with them and sharing my page, they can just say just go up, go down, or with the clear words.
Mm-hmm.
And I say just to make sure clear. But I mean, it's just this year we're doing that.
Mm-hmm.
But then next year we're going back into the building.
Right.
So I know that this is not really forever. It's just for now.
Very good.
But
Yeah.
hopefully in the future there'll be nothing more like a pandemic. Hopefully, and hopefully there'll be a better way for special need people to learn. For example, if we go back to the building, we can just all go back to everything before COVID-19, so things will go back to easier and go back to the way they was.
Yeah. So it's very good that you have shared a lot of your challenges with
Yeah.
us, right?
Yeah.
So apart from the challenges, have you gained anything? For example, in terms of communication or in terms of learning needs. So let's start with communication. Have you gained anything in communication
Yes.
challenges?
Yes. So the gain is that now I learn how to keep on checking the email, because before when I didn't check the email, because in the past I don't really check the email often. So even though when there are not many emails, I could miss some of the other emails. But after this, I learned that I have to keep on checking my email all the time. And I think,
And what about your communication style? Would you think you also learn how to improve the way you talk with people over emails or?
I think I improved in some way.
Mm-hmm.
But usually, I mean, before the pandemic, sometimes I do communicate with other through email. So I think communication for me is okay.
Mm-hmm.
Just to make sure that when people, and this is an advice for people who want to communicate with someone who has autism. When you communicate with an autistic person, just make sure you always use a clear structure, clear words.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be good if you try to avoid idioms, so they don't have to catch and misunderstand what you're saying.
So direct message is very important.
Yeah, direct message is very important, and just to make sure that they know exactly what you're saying. And maybe for those who are still learning, it's always good if you can have pictures, use pen or paper to draw out what you're trying to explain, something like that.
Very good. What about learning needs? Well, have you gained anything in terms of your learning needs or your learning style?
Not really. It's just the same when you're teaching them as well.
Okay.
Just make sure you have some clear structure, clear words, and when teaching, and this is an advice for everyone as well. If you were teaching someone with special needs, it's always important that you need to have a pictures. You need to have a clear words, and another advice is this is only if possible for those people who are still in primary or secondary school when they're learning this subject. And because the thing I always say to people is that loads of special need people learn betterly with their special interest. So that's another unique about for them having the special interest. So one of the good way is when a person is teaching a special need person to learn, I think using special interest will improve them a lot. So
Yeah.
they can focus on their special interest with these kind of learning and gain more.
Can you give us a little example to elaborate that point?
Alright, for example, say you are teaching a primary school children to count or or to to match some of the sums out. And say they have a special interest in toys. You can always use the toys, and so they can count the toys.
Yeah.
Or you can, or say when you are explaining a sentence and they don't understand, you can always use one of their favorite story to explain about the sentence.
Oh yeah.
Or read them their favorite story.
Yes.
Something like that.
Yes, that's a very good strategy.
Yeah.
Great.
Or say if you were explaining, say if you were in a secondary school, this special need person is in a secondary school and they're learning history for their junior cert.
Yeah.
And say for those who like Lego, you can always make a Lego toys. I mean, if possible, and move around and tell them about what happened in history, then they can remember.
Well, what about watching a film?
If they have a special interest in film, that will be also helpful as well.
Okay.
It just depends on what their special interests are, and just
Okay.
to use it to just to mix
Yeah.
in with learning if possible,
That's interesting.
and
Yeah.
make it possible.
Yeah. Yeah. Great. Now, thank you, Adrian.
Yeah.
You have helped us a lot
Yeah,
in terms of sharing your challenges and your game.
yeah,
So I hope this is going to be very useful for those who are stuck in similar situation, having received the Zoom classes and having similar challenges. I hope all these will be useful. And thank you very much. I think next time we will be talking about some of your plan for the summer, isn't it?
yeah.
So okay, so let's talk next time. Thank you guys.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.